The Second Defeat, written by R. Gyanchand, published in the year 1956. The king of Magadha was a master of chess. No one could match him at that game. Several champions of chess had played against him and lost. In the course of time, the king was convinced that nobody could defeat him in the game of chess. To put a stop to the endless stream of players who were anxious to play him, the king declared that those who challenged him to a game of chess and got defeated would be beheaded. This declaration put an end to the stream of players who came from very distant parts of the country in order to have the credit of being defeated by the king. If now and then a player or two came with the hope of trying their skill with him, the king reminded them of his declaration and persuaded them to go away. Soon the king was left alone. If anyone wanted to have the pleasure of playing a game of chess with the king, he had to pay for it with his head, and no one wanted to risk his head. It looked as though the king would never touch chessmen again. At that time, there lived a great mathematician on the banks of the Kaveri. He was very fond of the game of chess. He would watch the game for some time and suddenly declare that the game could be concluded in so many moves. If given a chance, he did it too. This Brahman came to know about the king of Magadha. What he heard made him angry. Why should the king be so vain about his victories? The joy of the game was in the play, not in victory. If two men played chess, one of them was bound to be defeated. That did not mean that defeat was a crime to be punished with death. What sort of player was the king? The Brahman thought that the king of Magadha deserved to be taught a lesson. So he started out on foot and reached Magadha in the course of time. He saw the king and had a talk with him. "O king," he said, "I have come all the way from the banks of the Kaveri. I learned that you are a master of chess and came to witness you play." "I can understand that," the king replied. "I am also anxious to play. But where is the man to play me? I have proclaimed that he who plays chess with me and loses the game will lose his head. So no one will play me." "In that case," said the Brahman, "I will be glad to play you myself." "My friend," the king said, "you will lose your head. Are you prepared for it?" "Before I answer the question," replied the Brahman, "I want to know something." "What is it you want to know?" the king asked. "I shall lose my head if I am defeated," the Brahman replied. "But what will I gain if perchance I defeat you?" "To one who defeats me at chess I can give anything," said the king boastfully. "What would you like to have?" "Only paddy grains," replied the Brahman. "If I win, give me grains for all the 64 squares of the chessboard, doubling the number of grains from one square to another." How simple minded you are! Exclaimed the king. Is that all you ask of me in case you defeat me? Evidently, you have no hope of victory. But I have, said the Brahman. I am hoping to defeat you twice with one game. What do you mean by it? The king asked, surprised. You will know that after the game, the Brahman replied. The match was arranged on the following day. A good number of people came to see the game. Everyone was certain that the Brahman would die. The king played the match with a firm resolve to win, and yet the Brahman defeated him in the end. Well, you win, said the king sorely. You are a good player, but haven't you said something about defeating me twice? Surely I am defeated only once. Give me what you have promised, said the Brahman. We can talk about your second defeat later. The king at once ordered for a few bags of paddy to be brought. I think, said the Brahman, it will be better if you calculate what is coming to me. The court accountants were summoned. They listened to all the conditions of the gift and, turning to the Brahman, inquired, How many grains do you want for the first square of the chessboard? Oh, one will do, replied the Brahman modestly. The king laughed at the simplicity of the Brahman, but when the calculations were finished and the total figure was presented to him, the king was astounded. The king owed the Brahman 18446740073709551 grains. Tell me what it will amount to, said the mystified king to the accountants. Measures were brought and the number of grains per measure counted. Calculations went on and finally the accountants informed the king, Sir, you owe this Brahman the entire paddy yield of our kingdom for 2 lakhs of years. The king was speechless with surprise and shame. Good gracious, he said at last. Is this my second defeat? I think so, Your Highness, said the Brahman coolly. If I was defeated, I could have given my head easily enough. But having been defeated, you cannot give me what you promised. It is all right now since you have won, the king said. But you were taking a terrible risk, weren't you? I don't think so, replied the Brahman. When you promised to give me what I asked for, I knew you were not clever at figures. Before I agreed to the death penalty, I made sure that you will not win. The king was surprised at the shrewdness of the Brahman. He loaded him with all sorts of gifts and sent him away. Thank you. Now, some of the words and their meaning. If now and then a player or two came with the hope of trying their skill with him, the king reminded them of his declaration and persuaded them to go away. Persuade means to make someone do something by giving them a good reason to do it. It looked as though the king would never touch chessmen again. Chessmen means any of 8 pieces and pawns used by each player in a game of chess. Why should the king be so vain about his victories? Vain means having or showing an excessively high opinion of one's appearances, abilities, or worth. So he started out on foot and reached Magadha in the course of time. In the course of time means after some time has passed. I have proclaimed that he who plays chess with me and loses the game will lose his head. So no one will play me, said the king. Proclaim means announce officially. To one who defeats me at chess, I can give anything, said the king boastfully. Boastful means showing excessive pride. How simple minded you are, exclaimed the king. Simple minded means having or showing little intelligence. The court accountants were summoned. They listened to all the conditions of the gift and, turning to Brahman, inquired. Inquire means ask for information from someone. Good gracious, he said at last, is this my second defeat? Good gracious means exclamation of surprise, dismay, or alarm. The king was surprised at the shrewdness of the Brahmin. Shrewdness means the quality of showing good power of judgment.